What is going on, guys? Phil here from Phil's Craft Corner. I hope you're all having a great day. I'm doing pretty good. Today's video is going to be about using my 50/50 linseed oil and white spirits mix to pre-apply to coasters so that you can get good quality photo engravings on your coasters. I've just had a new batch of coasters delivered from UK Hip Flasks. I've got something extra added on there. So let's get that box open. I'll show you how they're packaged and the extra little bits. I'll show you how I coat the coasters, the technique I use, because a lot of people have been asking and saying that it's not working well for them. It stays sticky, it's too shiny, the photos don't engrave very well. So I'll show you my technique on how I coat these. Stick around, hopefully this helps somebody, and let's get into it. Alright, so this is the package. It's two different boxes, so each box has a certain amount of coasters in. Without giving you my address by turning it this way, each box of coasters contains 60 coasters. I've ordered 120, so that's perfect. That's two full boxes, and I added in a little extra for me to test out. So let's open it up, we'll see what we've got in there, because I'm pretty sure this bump in the centre here is just the extra bits that I added in. So I'm going to separate these into two different boxes. So there we go. There's two different boxes there. So as you can see, each one contains 60 pieces, coat natural slate. I'm going to put this one to one side because I don't need to do all 120 today. That one's going to go in storage. This one was the top one with the lump on the top, so that's got the extra bits in. So we're going to open this one. I'm going to show you the package. Opening things like this with a knife isn't always advisable, but I already know that the coasters come in these boxes, and then inside them boxes each coaster is individual bubble wrapped as well, so that's great for when I want to post on a coaster afterwards. Got my invoice there. So each of these comes with 6, I think it is. 2, 4, 5, yeah, so each of these boxes inside has 6 coasters. Actually says on here, I think. Nope. Sharp edges may remain. Wipe. Why is my cough back? Caution: sharp edges may remain. Wipe with a damp cloth. Take care not to drop and be used as a chopping board. So, yeah, it's natural slate. So like I say, each one of these inside comes individually bubble wrapped, and no logo on the back either, so there's no print. I found these to be the most uniform size of slate coasters that I've found. There's less defects on them. I bought cheaper ones before, like from Poundland. They're now very expensive in Poundland. They're £1 per coaster. These ones work out at 42p when you order more than 100, so yeah, no brainer. So we'll pop that to one side for now. Like I say, I will be unboxing probably half, maybe more, of these to pre-coat, and then I just keep them pre-coated in storage, pull them out when I need to, and do the engraving. Hi Jimmy, you expecting as well? This is my boy Jimmy. Hey, hi Jimmy. Yeah. Jim. Yeah. Jim. Not too interested in the box, so he'll probably end up in this box. Jimmy. Are you done now? Okay. So Jimmy's going to supervise from over there. This is the extra little bit that I got. Just to add on to make this over the £50 limit for delivery, and that is bottle openers. Card size bottle openers. Again, these are all individually wrapped. These are pretty good. Feel quite heavy, nice and strong. Can't bend them, so these will work pretty well. Apparently you can engrave on these with the CO2 laser. I think it's just going to take the paint off. These are stainless steel coated, so we'll see how they work out. I ordered 10 of these to see how they work out, because Father's Day is coming up, so might as well test these too. But that's another video, so make sure you subscribe and follow along so you can see how they work out. For now, I'm going to prep my workbench. I'm going to start taking all of these out and coating them. And I'll show you my technique for coating these, which is pretty much the reason for this video. Right, so when I unbox these, I double check that all of the little feet are on the bottom and there's no big gouges or there's any issues with the coasters. All of the bubble wrap bags go into one bag ready for posting out again, and I fold down the cardboard boxes ready for storing pieces in, or I use that to send other items as well. Alright, so out of those 60, it's just this one has that little lump in there. That's easy to fix. You can just sand that down with a bit of sandpaper. The only reason I don't like it is because if somebody puts their cup on there, it could wobble a little bit. So yeah, I'm just going to get that off there. I've just got a small amount of 80 grit sandpaper. We're just going to just rub that down. That's much better. That lump isn't there now. I know this looks pretty bad like this, but once we get the coating on there, that'll disappear basically. It'll all merge in. Let me show you with a little bit of water. So I've just got a damp cloth here, just a wet wipe, and when you go over, you see that surface, it's a little bit smooth there. That's going to be fine. Once the engraving's on there, you're not really going to be able to tell. That'll dry and the colour will come back out, like it'll be light again there. But once I put the coating on, that lightness, the light patch, will disappear and it'll stay pretty much like that. So 1 out of 60 isn't too bad. I'm going to say that's going to be 1 out of 120 because these are always really good quality. I'll shift all this out of the way. I'll get my linseed oil mix and then we'll start coating them. I always coat the backs and face them face down first, and then I'll come back after I've done these 60 because it doesn't matter about the bottom that much, and then I'll immediately put the top coat on the tops of them. So let's get that done. Alright, so I've got my mix here. This is what I've got left from the original amount. After a few months you might start seeing this go a bit thick. If it goes a bit thick, you can just add some more white spirits into it. It's perfectly fine. The only thing that's happening there is while it's open, the white spirits are just evaporating out of there, and sometimes you need to put them back in. I recommend having a good screw top bottle and then try and clean up as much from the edge as you can before you put the top back on, because once the linseed dries, it dries pretty solid. The old bottle that I had, the jar that it was in, it skinned over on the top, and then I had to get a knife and keep prying it to get it open. Screw top has worked much better. So this is what I've got left from that first mix, which as I've said in the comments a few times, this has probably done about 1,000 coasters through that first mix. Cost wise, this is absolutely amazing. Application wise, it's a bit of a pain. If you're rushing on time and time's more valuable than the cost of the materials, then the matte finish varnish is probably the best way to go for you. You can have all these coated in a few minutes and it'll be absolutely fine, but cost is a big thing for me, so I use this mix and I'm really happy with the mix. A lot of you guys have used this mix before and are really happy with it. Some of you struggle with the amount that you're using, so I'm going to go over the way I do it and the method I use, and we're going to do this whole batch, and hopefully it helps you out and you can get your coasters coated quite well. I just have a microfiber cloth. This is one obviously that I use a lot. You can see how stained it is in the center. I just fold it into a quarter, and then this little corner bit here is mostly where I dip into the jar, and then the rest I use as a dry wipe, and that wipes off all the excess. So I'm going to go and get all the backs coated. The back, you don't really need to worry that much. You can put a decent amount on, unless you're wanting to engrave a picture or something on the back, then I just have a decent amount on there. I dip every single coaster, and then basically just go around the edges. What you're looking for on the back mainly is a uniform colour, like so. That's perfectly fine, and then you can pop that to one side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to time lapse all of the backs now, and then I'll flip them over and I'll show you the way I coat the fronts. Alright, so I won't bore you with watching me do the whole back of all 60. I just did 14 of them and then cut the video off because you don't need to see it all. Basically what you want to do is get a nice even coat on the back, don't get too much on the feet, and that's all you need to do for the back. It's nice and simple, nice and quick. As I said, I run the laser while I'm doing this job, and that helps me optimise my time rather than me just sitting around waiting for the laser to finish. It gives me something to do. And just like that, all 60 are done. So I cut the camera off after doing a couple of rows. You don't need to see the whole lot. But while this was doing, I ended up cutting out all of these letters. So that's what I do. I have the laser running while I'm doing this kind of stuff. That's all the back's done. As you can see, these are just a little bit shiny. We'll flip these over and we'll get the fronts done. So this was the one, try and get out of the shadow, that I had to sand down to smooth off that point. I will coat this one, and by the time I got to the end, this will be dry enough to show you that this isn't going to come back through. So yeah, let me get the cloth and I'll show you what I do. Again, the same cloth. By now the quarter that you're using, this tip, should be fairly damp, and the rest should still be pretty dry. So that's what you want. You need a wet corner and a dry corner. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a fairly wet amount of the mix, and I'm just going to dab and push in to all of these crevices on the side, because we want to get all in there, because if we coat the top and this side is a different shade, it's just going to look silly. And then what happens is there's a tiny little bit of bleed out, I don't know what to call it, squeeze out around the edge, and then we use the dry part to rub that in, and that gives you pretty much the perfect amount on the top. So hopefully you can see on there I got a really good amount, more than what I'd put on the back, and I probably put up to about there into the liquid. I'll let it soak up nicely so that you can just dab and push in to the sides. So as you can see, there's a bit of squeeze out on the top. So the amount that I put on the amount that I put on there should be enough to cover the rest. I apologise for my cough. I don't know why I've still got it. It's not affected me all day while I've been out working. Just want to come home to make a video. So as you see, there's a little bit of squeeze out on the edge, and then I use the dry part and I really push on and kind of scrub it in just to get that even. And you want a matte finish there, so you see how the edge is pretty glossy but the top is matte. That's the finish you're looking for. If it's more shiny, then wipe more off. You can always use a bit more white spirits to wipe it off once it's dry, or you can go and scrub it under hot soapy water, which is one of the things I used to do. I used to take these all over to the sink and clean each one. But as you can see, that is the finish we're looking for. So it doesn't matter about the edge being shiny, because there's not going to be any engraving there and people aren't paying attention that much to the edge. It's the top that we want to have that kind of matte finish. And again, if we flip this over to the back, there's more of a shiny finish, more of a glossy finish than is on the front. So you're looking for that matte finish. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to do a few more. Obviously I'll time lapse that again to to a point where I feel like you might be a bit bored watching, and then we'll cut away. So let's go. So that's it, that's all the secret is. You just dab all the edges and use the excess to coat the front. You do want it as dry as possible, so if you can use 2 cloths it's probably better, but you can get away with using one the way I'm using here. You get used to it after a couple of them, and it should take you 30 to 40 seconds per coaster. So it's not that time consuming. Overall you're probably taking maybe a minute per coaster to coat the front and the back. But like I say, if you're using the time to do other stuff, like if you got things cutting out on the laser, you can just keep an eye on it while you're doing this. You shouldn't leave your laser unattended anyway, so your time's more well spent doing something like this than just sitting there texting. Maybe you might be working on designs, but you might not have designs to do. Everything might be made up, so you can utilise your time in other ways, which is what I'm doing with these, utilising my time to coat all these coasters ready for in the next few days, next couple of weeks, and then everything's ready to go. Alright, so I've only got 2 left at the back over there. I've done all the rest. What I'm going to do is I'm going to coat both of these too much. One, to show you how you can reduce it once you have got it, if it's still wet, if you put too much on by accident. And the other one, what happens if you leave it on there. If you put too much on, leave it on, what happens with the engraving and why it's a bad idea, basically. So I'm just going to bring these 2 down here for now, just so I'm not stretching, basically. Now I've got a lot on there, it's quite wet actually, so I'm going to squidge a lot on there. That is like 4 or 5 times too much. Do the edges as normal. And then I'm just going to rub it over with the wet part as well. That is definitely way too much. So this was one of the latest ones I've done. You can see the difference there between how glossy this one is, how wet it is compared to this one. This one won't do at all. So if you have put too much, find yourself the driest bit of the cloth you can and really go at it. Try and get a dry finish, so like you're really trying to scrub this. So imagine you've got paint on there or something like that and you're really trying to clean it off. Even getting a brand new cloth, you can get that right amount of sheen. That one's okay, there's still probably a bit much on there if we compare the two. In fact, no, they're kind of the same. Should be alright. Nothing you do is a bit of kitchen roll. As I say, get the driest part of your cloth you can and just scrub as much off there as possible to get as much excess off as you can. So that's probably about right. And then with this one, I'm just going to finish it. I'm going to have it as a bit of a sacrificial one. Just completely coat it, put way too much on there, and show you the difference in the engraving quality. So even though I have rubbed that with the dry side, you can see just how shiny that is. You don't want it that shiny. I am going to leave that one to dry, and I'm going to do it as a test one just to show you the difference. And that's it, 60 coated. This one, again, like I said before, this is the one that I had to sand down this little notch. I'll just wet that with my greasy hand and dry that off. And that's fine, that's going to stay like that, that's how it'll dry. I went and had some food, and this has been sat here probably about 3 hours now, so that's how it's going to stay. We'll leave these to completely dry overnight. We'll come back tomorrow, I'll show you what they look like when they're dry, and we'll do a test engrave with one of these compared to that one at the top up there that I put way too much on. So I'll see you guys in the morning. Alright guys, this is the next morning. It's been about 12 hours since I coated these. They've all pretty much dried now. The edges are still a bit glossy, but the top is only a little matte. The back, there's still a couple of bits and pieces on the back where it's not quite dried, where it was too much coating, but it's fine. Like I say, the back isn't where the important part is, the top layer is. You can do the same, you can go to the same lengths with the back if you want to engrave something on the back, but I don't tend to bother. I just give it a bit of a wipe clean, any excess like this. You can just wipe off just before you're lasering, and that's perfectly fine, or before you stack them up. It depends on how long you're going to be storing these for. This one was the one that we put way too much coating on. You can see that's very glossy compared to one of the other ones. It's hard for me to catch on camera, but it's a lot more glossy than the other one. If I rub my finger across it, I'm taking some of the oils out of it, so it's still not quite dry. This was the other one that we put too much coating on and then wiped off. This one is fine. And then the one that we had to sand the top down, there's a little smooth spot there where I've sanded it down, and you can tell something's happened there, but it's going to be fine. Once you engrave on here, you're not really going to see that pattern. You have to hold it on an angle to see it. It'll be fine. It'll work well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you with this one at the top that I put too much on, what happens when you do that. I'm going to engrave that one and just any of the others to show you the difference between the two and what happens. You're going to see it's going to look kind of okay, and then very quickly the pattern's just going to disappear when the oil's soaking into the raw slate. So get over to the laser, I'll engrave them too, and we'll compare it. Alright guys, hopefully this will be clear enough now with the lights the way they are. You can kind of already tell. This is the one that was coated properly. This is the one that had too much on. Once coated properly, all the pattern came out nicely. You can see it in there, especially in the writing there where it says Steve. It's perfectly flat, one colour. In this one, you're missing a lot of the detail at the top where it goes darker. You can't really see anything there. There's a lot of patches around here where the oil's seeping through, and kind of hard to pick up on the camera. There's quite a few blotches in there too. If I rub my finger over it, I didn't do it on this one. Sometimes it just drags that oil that's left over there and starts coating it, and you lose even more. As you can see, it just doesn't look great at all from any angle. This one, you have it on different angles, even on that same angle there, still looks pretty good. So yeah, if you've got too much on there, you're kind of screwed. You lose a lot of the detail. Alright guys, hopefully this tutorial helped you get the better results from your coasters. The better results from your coasters. Hopefully by side there you can tell the difference. It looks alright on my screen. This is the one that had too much on. I apologise for this video being a little long and has a lot of information in it, but I've learned a lot doing this process over the past few years, and I wanted to pass that information on to you guys, so hopefully you can get the good results that I get with my coasters. I am going to do a tutorial on how to do the pictures, how to pre-prepare the pictures, what settings I use on my laser, and focal points, all that good stuff. I'm going to get that done and put that into another video for you. So if you do like this kind of content, then please hit that like button. If you learned anything, obviously, hopefully, let me know down below. Let me know if it's worked out for you, if this method works a bit easier than what you've already used using the 50-50 mix previously. Hopefully it does, and hopefully it's answered some of the questions that people have been asking. And subscribe, it does help out massively. It makes me super happy. The more subscribers I get, the more people view my content, the more likely I am to make more videos, and hopefully you guys can learn something new with me too. That's the whole point of this channel, is I'm learning how to do this stuff, and the information that I learn I'm passing on to you guys, and hopefully you can learn something too. So if you did learn anything, I'm grateful for that, and the videos served its purpose. That being said, the next video that I'm going to do is either going to be the settings and pre-production of the pictures to go on coasters, or it's going to be testing out the bottle openers that I got from UK Hip Flasks. I got them with these coasters, so if you want to check out any of those videos, then hit subscribe, follow along, and we'll learn together. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next video.